Hey guys, my name's Nate and I'm the Outdoorsman, and today we're going to be talking about buying hiking gear on a budget. Now, I'm not really going to talk about fiscal responsibility or making a savings plan. While those things will work, I'm more going to be kind of making some tips and tricks, things that I use for buying gear on a budget. And I'm not going to go into very specific things. Most of these are going to be broad concept stuff, but there will be some specific tricks sprinkled throughout. Because there are very specific tricks that I use to save some money here and there. And it really depends on the situation. But what this is mostly going to be geared for is if you're trying to get into the hobby of hiking, or you don't have a kit set up yet and you want to either for hiking, camping, or whatever, and you want to put that together and you're planning on getting hiking weeks in advance, months in advance, or something like that, and you want to set up. Because one of the first things is, if you're trying to build a budget kit for tomorrow or this weekend, truly, budget kind of has to go out the window, because it is going to be almost impossible to set up a reliable budget kit or something like that on a budget, because you're going to have to rely on cheap equipment if you're trying to set it up for tomorrow, because you don't have the time to research, you don't have time to do pretty much anything. So that is kind of the first thing. The first thing is give yourself enough time to set up a kit. I understand that isn't always the case. We don't always have time. So set up, give yourself time. Whenever I'm planning on setting up a new kit, or I'm trying to redo something and I don't have a lot of money to allocate towards my towards that kit, I tend to try and give myself time, even if it is a few months, even if it is a few weeks, even sometimes. I try and give myself time. And the thing is, again, as I said, because it's shorter, you really don't get to play with being able to watch for sales, getting to watch for deals, getting to watch for the big clearance cycles. But at the same time, you also don't get time to research the different products. You don't get to take advantage of a lot of things. But the other thing about time is you get to spread out your budget. You get to spread out your spending. So say you don't make a lot, one of the things is I don't want to get into spending plans too much, but you can put aside some money and go, okay, I'm going to spend X amount of money during this time. I'm going to spend X amount of time here, and I'm going to spend X amount of time here. And one of the other big things is it just kind of allows you to figure it out. So once you've kind of set that time, the next big thing I recommend doing is making a list. Make a list of those products that you need for the kit, or the things you're looking to buy. Because one of the things is, when I say make a list, I'm not going to say you want to buy a Osprey, we'll say an Osprey Exos 54 liter. If you really want that pack, throw it on there, but also say you want a 54 liter backpack. We'll go with that. Given those scale, or give yourself, okay, I want somewhere around a 50 to 60 liter backpack. That's an overnight liter backpack. Perfect. And you want a sleeping bag, you need a tent, you need such and such and such. And you kind of build up that list. You can build two different types of lists. You can set yourself a priority list going, okay, by the time this trip comes, if I don't have X, if I don't have Y, if I don't have Z, I'm fine. I can borrow some from friends, or I can make do. There are equipment out there that we can make do without. Or we can make do with stuff we have around the house. Truly, there are things we can make do with around the house. Or we can buy cheaply. Like certain ropes you can buy really cheap. They're not like you can buy 550 cord at Walmart, and yes, it won't hold 550 pounds, but at the same time, you aren't going to be trying to lift 550 pounds on your average camping trip. To be honest, you really, really aren't. And if you are, you have new problems. As in, you're in a survival situation most likely, and again, one of those camping trips, if you're in a survival situation, you need to lift 550 pounds, you have problems. I don't mean mental problems, I mean that there's a real situation going on. The other type of list you can make is you can clump it together and plan out your purchases. So you go, okay, on this paycheck, I'm going to buy this item, and this item. So you know, okay, I'm going to buy these smaller items, like I'm going to buy a flashlight, I'm going to buy this cheaper flashlight, I'm going to buy this cheaper cup, and I'm going to buy this bedroll on this paycheck, but I'm going to, on that next paycheck, I'm going to not buy anything, and then the next paycheck I'm going to buy the backpack. And that way you can kind of plan out your purchases in a way that you aren't killing your finances. That's sort of how I tend to do it. I tend to do it that way because I need to sometimes do that, and I tend to go through waves of buying stuff as I need them. But so I'll tend to go through a long plateau of not buying any gear, and then all of a sudden, so that when I need gear, I can actually buy the gear that I need. So then that moves on to the next thing. Don't buy cheap gear. I go into really, really deep detail about this in an episode of the Wilderness Wanderers podcast. I'll try and link it down below. Me and Tom talk about it, why it's not good to buy extremely cheap gear. And when I say cheap gear, I don't mean budget gear. There's a difference between budget and cheap. But we talk about whether it's a skimp or save thing, and you can get away with cheap gear. But the problem is that sometimes cheap gear can cost you more money down the line. I've had cheap gear where I've bought it because I needed to. Don't get me wrong, sometimes you have to. Sometimes you are in a pinch and you need to go out and buy that $5 or that $3 bent Walmart cup. Or it's not, it feels like a $2 bent Walmart cup that will could last you a long time, but also it could just break. That's actually a bad example, because I believe any metal, any cooking utensil is actually really good, but you could buy that like $1 flashlight or that 50-cent flashlight from like the convenience store thinking, oh, that will last you the trip, but then it'll die on you like in the middle of the night when you really need it. It's happened. So avoid doing that. Sometimes think, okay, look for something that looks a little bit better quality, but at the same time maybe a little bit cheaper or a little bit more budget friendly. One of my best bits of advice, and a lot of people in the comments are going to disagree with me, and I mean a lot of people are going to disagree with me, and I don't care. For as much as you can avoid it, avoid Walmart and Target. Period. I've had nothing but bad luck with any products that I've bought there. I mean, aside from doing a survival kit from there myself, I've had a lot of cheap products there fail on me. I've had products that have bad build quality, and the thing is, I've had to repurchase some of the stuff that I've gotten there. Now, that's not saying that you can't buy stuff there that are good quality elsewhere, but I tend to avoid them for anything that are big. Things like tents, I tend not to buy my backpacks there that are like the big backpacks. I tend to avoid like anything that is majorly needed for my kit. Matches, like the small things that you're possibly going to use, fine, whatever, like the quote-unquote consumables. That should be fine, but I've had dry bags rip. I've had to replace plenty of dry bags from them, so I tend to avoid them. So now that you kind of understand why I'm like, don't go cheap. Don't go like trying to buy the things that are like, okay, maybe maybe spend a couple extra dollars and buy something that'll maybe a bit better of a quality. Think, okay, how can you spend less money on better equipment that may be worth a couple extra bits of money or could be required normally more dollars? And I don't know why I was speaking like that for a second. My brain's frazzled. Shop like I do. Shop like a lot of thrifty shoppers do. Shop sales, shop clearance aisles, and shop off-brand. That is how we shop. My favorite store, or one of my favorite outdoor stores, this one's where I get really specific. I know a lot of outdoor people who do not like this store, but anyone who knows the store really well loves REI. If you are shopping on a budget at REI, you don't shop there for full price. You become a member, which is $20, and you're there a lifetime. Which means you get dividends, which means as you purchase regularly there, which when you do shop there full price, I tend to get a lot of good hiking food there, and I tend to sometimes buy things as I need them, because their prices there are MSRP. These are standard prices everywhere else, pretty much. And anywhere else is generally sale prices or undercut prices. But their prices there are standard pretty much everywhere else. So as I shop there, I tend to get, as a member, I tend to sometimes either get a discount, gift cards, or my dividends, which dividends basically mean as over time, I get money back. This isn't paid sponsorship. This is just something I personally like. The dividends mean at the end of the year, I basically get a gift card that says, here are your dividends. And I'll get maybe, if I had a big spending year, I go, cool, I get, $40, $50 to then spend there again. And I've used that to buy more gear, but then I'll end up spending within that card. The other thing is they have regular sales constantly. As a member, I'm seeing those sales constantly. But the biggest thing as a member, garage sales. They have this event called the Garage Sale, which is generally quarterly. And if you're a member, you can get into it. And it's essentially how they get rid of their return stock, because they allow people to return stuff. And their overstock and damaged stock. If you ever pay attention to my videos, you'll see products that have a little X in them. Those are items I got at a garage sale. My Osprey Exos 54 liter backpack is a $220 backpack that I got for $70 because the guy returned it because he wanted a bigger backpack. Great deal for me. Best advice for them, get there early. You have to get there early if you want the good deals. I've gotten boxes upon boxes of matches for like cheap, like $70, not $70, 70 cents. I've gotten my jet boil there for 40% off. I've gotten I try and bring my wife there because she always catches all the good deals. But yeah, the garage sales, you'll get really good gear, really cheap. You just make sure to read the tag to see what's wrong with it. And if what's wrong with it is fine for you, go for it. Like the jet boil, the only reason the person returned it is because they had trouble using it. I was like, I don't have problems using it. I didn't, and I kept using it, and now it's part of my regular camping gear. So the other thing is there are many other outdoor retailers as well, including REI, check their clearance sections. All of them, their clearance sections are gold mines. The thing is, you may also strike out, but you may also find some awesome stuff. So always check the clearance sections at any outdoor retailer you go, whether it's a small time place. Whenever I'm in the White Mountains, I always check one of them because he always has he always has clothes in clearance section, so we always check there, see if there's any good jackets, see if there's any good shirts, because I'm always looking for good outdoor shirts. I'm always looking for good outdoor clothes, so I always check there. That's actually also how I got that green shirt, that green jacket I always wear. That was a clearance item. It's like $70 that I ended up buying for it, and it was $150 originally. So always look at the clearance sections. The other thing is learn the sales cycles of stores near you. Also online stores. Some, like REI, as I said, regular cycles. It's almost predictable that but the general consensus is you have end of winter, end of summer, beginning of summer, and beginning of the camping season, end of autumn, and yeah, so those are the kind of cycles. But you also have the holidays. You have like President's Day. You have, and this is very American centric, so sorry for my, foreign viewers. I don't know your cycles for sales if you have them. So this is USA centric for the sales cycles. We also have Black Friday, but if you're foreign, you may be able to catch some United States sales as well, online at least. Black Friday is a big one, and I always keep an eye out on those. So you can always find those. Outlet stores, I tend to also check. Especially the best one I have the best luck with is L.O. Bean, at least in Maine. I always go there when I'm in the area, because that one has a lot of good stuff in it. But I also check the Columbia Sports on. I tend to get a lot of good deals for comparable quality, and that's how I tend to get my Columbia Sports shirts. And the big one of the ones I tend to use a lot, and this one some people like, some people don't, and I sometimes don't like, and sometimes I do like. It really depends on the quality of the stuff. Amazon. Check the different retailers on Amazon, but this one you got to kind of use with a grain of salt. You've got to be very picky, so to speak, because the big thing with this is they can either be good or they can be bad. So some of them can be really beneficial to you, but some of them can also be really, really... It's a gamble. You could either strike gold with a piece of kit, or it could strike pyrite. But especially if you're on a budget and you're on a short timeline, if you're a Prime member, the benefit is Amazon Prime shipping, and if it's Prime enabled, you'll get that piece of equipment within 2 days and you're good to go. And I've had to do that for quite a few items when I've been on a short timeline, and I had like 2 or 3 items I needed to add to my kit. So that's one of the best things about it. But what you need to do, best benefit for you is using reviews. And I don't mean, well, sort of use the reviews in the comments, but those can be unreliable. Well, the reviews on the product, those can be unreliable. So what your next best option is use people like me. I don't mean me specifically, but use YouTubers, use bloggers. Watch as many YouTube reviews or blog reviews on a product as possible if you can. I tend to do that with certain products. Find what we can. I've had to post some, I've even posted some negative reviews on some products from there. And the reason being was I echoed other things that some people have said. Some people, I got criticism for my negative review, but honestly, it was because of that. I think some people liked that I commented that because they didn't want to have to go through the hassle of setting up a hammock. one of the other big things about shopping is there's also thrift stores. I personally haven't done much or had much luck with thrift stores, but I have a lot of friends who have. I think it really depends on your region. It really depends on what thrift stores you go to and if they're in areas that it's more popular or that have a lot of that stuff in it. So you really need to look. They're really up in the air. So thrift stores are something you can check out. So my last bit of advice is, remember, this gear can be just temporary. So if you buy off-brand or you buy something that you aren't 100% happy with towards your gear and you're buying it on a budget, remember, it isn't temporary. You can upgrade down the line. You could buy something like a Grand Teton backpack. That's just one brand that's a decent backpack that's pretty cheap. And you could upgrade down the line. That's what I did. I ended up buying one of those on the cheap, and then I wanted a better backpack. I wanted one that was structured a bit better, and I upgraded to something that was much more expensive a year later. And you can always do that as you get as you save up. But you know, okay, I have this trip coming up in a year and I don't have the budget for a $200-300 backpack, and I want that $200-300 backpack, but I don't have it in time for that trip. Okay, I'll buy this $80 backpack that is still really good. And that's where you can kind of really go with that. You can kind of make plans. You can make plans to upgrade them, and that's fine. But at the same time, you're still going to end up using these tricks. You can still shop the sales. You can still look what's out there. I still shop sales. I'm constantly shopping sales because, you know what? I still find good backpacks. I still find those $200-300 backpacks on sale. I don't always buy them because I have my kits pretty dialed in right now. But sometimes I like to make tweaks to my kits. Last year I was trying to make it lighter, and that's when I started reapplying these tricks, and that's how I ended up finding my 54-liter backpack, because I wanted a smaller backpack, and I found it at a garage sale because I was looking for one, but I knew I had the time, so I gave myself the time. So learn these tricks, learn to use them. I tend to see a lot of people who struggle with shopping for these stuff on a budget and think, hey, I want the best and biggest stuff, and understand you don't need the best and biggest stuff to hike. You don't have to put yourself deep in debt to go out hiking. Understand all you need is some thriftiness, some planning, some understanding of the equipment that's out there, and just some good know-how. So just get out there, have fun. Remember, you don't need the best gear out there to enjoy what you're doing. Just enjoy what you're doing and have fun out there. See you, everyone.